Tuesday, February 10th on Bitcoin, and there's not a whole lot going on since the low of 60,000. And it's pretty boring, right? A lot of chop right here. I do think that this isn't where you need to lose interest, and I think that there's a lot of confluence outside of this zone that can print a lot of potential. So let's just dive into it. Right here locally, we have a mini range. We have a mini range. This is our high here and our low, and you have liquidity resting a lot below in these zones. So one of the things that I want to be looking at and is the levels outside of this zone. So you have an NPOC right here at the top and at the bottom. So let's say that price is able to rally and come up into this and tap this NPOC zone and then come down and SFP into the mini range. There's two ways that you can look at that, and that's a simple range trade, right? So what you're going to be looking for is a tap of the MPOC, and you can do a very aggressive entry. Simply just enter at the 73,423 zone and try to target the mini range low, taking a TP at the range medium, right? You could also be looking for something if you put a swing low VWAP on. You can see today that we had a very nice bounce at the swing low VWAP today, cooking about 3%. So that's a really good scalp trade if you took that today. But that's going to be trending up if we had a move up. So you kind of want to either, if it's above the median, take a TP1 there, or a TP1 at the median range, right? You can always take a securing profits is always what you want to be doing, but typically you structure it from the mid range and then the bottom range here, and then you leave a runner for anything kind of running outside of that zone, so you're continuing to capture profits if it does do a breakdown. Now the second way you could play it is if we have again an SFP of the MPOC, you wait for confirmation for it to come down into the range and then you take that short, and that's going to be a lot more patient setup, but that's going to probably be the less riskiest and the highest probability of not having a stop loss. And again, depending on where and how you're trading that, you can do a stop loss at the highs. You can do it kind of just right at the middle there. Again, if you're looking at order flow and you're an order flow trader, you can be sniping those as well. So let's take a look at the other side of this range. If we come down, which we're closer to the bottom of this range, and we do a tap of this MPOC, it's the same setup, right? You're going to be looking for those two things. You're going to be looking for one, the long setup. You can play at the MPOC there and do some sort of structure down here. There is a daily level down here, but that's too wide for me. I don't play that. Typically within 1 to 2%, 3 at the most. Still a good R on some of those, but again, the ideology is TP1 at the mid range, TP2 at the high, and then so on and so on. And again, this is one of those you can do a really aggressive one here, or you re-enter on the acceptance back into the range low, targeting the highs of that range. And I do think that those are more intraday setups, right? And then those are ones that you're going to want to be aggressive on, taking profits, securing profits, and paying yourself, because we can see as clearly, what is this, since the bottom here. We had the weekend 5-day range that we're kind of accumulating within this zone or distributing, yet to be seen. But let's take a look at something else. If you're not a range trader, if you're not looking at it like this, there's another interesting item on the chart I showed earlier. So this is a harmonic that I think has potential. And again, let's pull up those MPOCs because those are acting like magnets, right? So from the highs of 78,000, 79,000, and we got impulsive on this move, we have our X wave down, and then we retested the 618, right? So let me do this fib pull for you guys again. We have a fib pull down to the swing lows, tap of the 618 into the golden pocket, and that forms our B wave. And now we have potential to do one of two things. We can come down into the golden pocket from the swing low to the B wave high, and put in a C wave for a D wave up, and that would be a Gartley to trade on. And you could kind of structure it from a long perspective. One, trade it up to 73, 77. There's a couple levels up there that you could look for. You could look for an SFP if we continue to trend down like this, right? Trend down, SFP, breakdown, regain. So you could do aggressive on the 618, 66, or wait patiently for that MPOC, which is personally something I'd probably be doing myself, is looking for, that SFP, it doesn't have to come down to the golden pocket. The 0.5 and the 382 is actually one of the that's too shallow for me in my opinion, but that does fit into the mini range, right? So yeah, I'll be looking at the 618 golden pocket, really, to be honest with you. So that's one of those long setups that you could be playing outside of the range if you want to get aggressive there. Again, looking at this from a harmonic perspective, you have the long at the MPOC. Looking at it from a mini range perspective, along at the mini range POC, or simply just looking at the MPOC there and looking for further confluence. And if you're an auction market theory person, let's pull from the swing low to current pricing. You do have a value area low sitting at about 66,682. So price could come down something like this. And if you're the aggressive person that trades a tap right off the 65, that's a great entry. But you're still going to have some wide stops here. So in terms of how you want to structure your long setup, it's really up to you, whether you're a funded trader or you're doing your personal self-funded. It depends on your setups. You know the play, but this is exactly the area to be looking for, the confluence to be looking at. And I do think, again, this is a bearish harmonic. So if we did actually come down and play this C wave, you'd be taking the long from C wave and you would be looking for somewhere up to D wave, right? So whatever your position is, you'd be looking along that up to 73,000, 77,000, and you would actually then be looking to play that short, whether it's back down to C target finale. Personally, I would love to be targeting the A wave of the low, and then so on and so on. So that is a few options that I'm looking at. So nothing too crazy on the charts here, but things to be aware of, things to be looking at, right? And I think let's take out the Gartley. Let's take out the mini range. Let's just look at levels on the chart here. What I would be really, really interested in, right? And let's bake, actually let's do this. Let's bake in the Elliott wave that we were looking at before. Let me see if I have my Elliott wave on this here. Yes, I do. So again, we have, let's get this guy out of here. The Elliott wave from the, let's back out here. So again, 1, 2, wave 3 came down, 81K, wave 4. And again, the characteristics of a wave 4 is it's choppy. There's no motive wave structure in here. There's no impulsive structure to really be working with. There's no trending structure, right? It's all corrective. It's choppy. It's overlapping. Overlapping price structure for me, I just don't like to trade. So when I'm looking at something down here, I'm really not to try. I don't want to look at levels inside that range. I want to look at it outside, and that's why I'm focusing outside. That's where the liquidity's at. That's where smart money's at. And that's where I think you're going to get the best reversions, whether it's a follow-through breakdown or it's a quick SFP tap of liquidity pocket and then a back in, right? So wave 4, I think we can all agree that wave 4 is up here. This is our 5th wave down. Now, depending on the count here, I know I talked about it in my last video, but wave 1, 2, possible 3, or it's end of a 5. Either way, this structure here is corrective. So it does look good for a wave 4. I do think at this moment in time, there's no strength in the charts. There's no change in structure. So the highest probability is still lower to come, right? But that's at this moment in time. And as traders, we have to adapt. So, if we don't take the lows, don't quote me on it because we have to change, right? So when we go and look at the 382 here, we've rejected here off of this level. Now, what I'm really looking for again is we have this bounce here. Is this an ABC? It doesn't really seem like it. I do think that we could come up here. This is the A wave. We are now forming the B wave, and we could come down into that Gartley or mini range low NPOC pocket and come back up to tap this up here, the 0.5, which is the downtrend anchored VWAP from the weight of 2. Close to the 0.5. So when we talk about levels, what do we got? We have, again, that NPOC sitting about 73,450. That's attractive, right? So let's say that this somehow is a wave 4, and we put that in, and we are going to sweep the lows. I think that this would be a very highly favorable zone to be looking for longs, right? This is my very high confluence. If we sweep these lows, we come into the monthly or the MPOC down here. That's a very big long trigger for me, especially with spot too. I think we could come into this zone right here. Why is this mouse being weird? Right here, and this is the bread and butter. And I, you know, depending on how you do it, whether we come here first or we come straight down into this zone, you know, again, SFP of monthly, that'd be my main level. You could also just look for the SFP of the range low or the overall low at 60,000 and trade that from a very long swing perspective, because that's one of those trades where you'd be looking to settle in. Personally, me, I'd be looking for low leverage, but I'd be looking to size a bit more than the standard 2 to 4%, somewhere towards 8 to 10% on this swing. Maybe even, you know, just depending on how we get there, what that looks like. But this right here would be so ideal to take, and I would love to get along in this zone if we could get it. And you know, that might be a dream statement, but we'll see what's happening on the charts here. And I think regardless, again, I want y'all to kind of just be thinking about what should you be risking, being risk on, and the overall, you know, structure that we've had since all-time high. You know, a lot of people are getting bearish and think we're just going to do one of these just straight down. And, you know, from an overall perspective, it's possible, right? We've seen that before in bear markets. I mean, just look over here. We've just nuked down, straight down, right? But at some point, you know, you're going to have a relief rally. You're going to have a bounce. And luckily, we do have a lot of confluence within this zone here, right? We have a lot of bread and butter right here. If we do lose, you know, these levels down here, let's get rid of those. If we do lose these levels down here, I mean, I would be personally looking for 39, 30,000. I don't think I'd be interested in anything in 50, the 40s. You know, that's just my personal opinion, though. But I do think overall, you know, being risk on in this zone right here is really the bread and butter. So yeah, that's what I have for you guys today. Oh, I do want to show you one more thing here. Let's take a look at the order flow, right? So again, going back to where we're at right now, zooming in, I'll leave you guys off where I started. If we go back and we think about this as a range, right? This right here, let's pull this up on my chart here. This right here, I mean, this is the low of 60,000, and you can see this is the 4 hour. You have a lot of negative delta coming into this with a positive bounce of delta, and then through the weekend just kind of tapering off. We had this really high negative delta move into the POC. That's actually the POC right there. Up, and then if you look at the delta, we've just kind of tapered, not really done anything meaningful. So everything here screams to me neutral bias. Neutral, my bias right now is overall neutral, but cautiously bearish. And I again, you know, looking at this as an overall range within here, looking at the liquidity here and here is going to be very beneficial to trade. And, you know, again, looking at VWAPs, market profiles, those sort of things, especially on POCs. So again, that's just what I'm looking at. I hope you guys enjoy, and happy trading. Yeah, cheers.